This one's gonna be about procrastination, I guess. I at least guess, because I don't actually know, because I haven't recorded the episode yet, because this is all in a row. So basically, the intro as such is quite, well, it is not useless. I guess it is just good to say hello and what it is just all about, and to actually, give you a chance to know what it's gonna be all about, and then you can decide whether, I'm just gonna go through it or not because I'm not interested, and what so fucking ever. Yesterday's second episode, which was all about actually reacting to one of Tim Ferriss' TED talks, was quite okay. It just really felt pretty strange because I was only sitting there just watching the shit, and I was like, I do have to say something. I do have to do something. It really kind of felt pretty weird, pretty strange, pretty fucked up. I don't know if I'm gonna do this just once again. Maybe when I do just not have any kind of, when I do just not want to, talk or something, then this is just probably one of the best things I can do because I don't have to talk. But besides this fact, I guess it was pretty okay, because it is something different and it is something quite interesting to also try out, even though it was really fucking weird. I really felt like, okay, I just really have to say something. I was only sitting there knowing that there's a fucking camera just fucking watching me. It feels strange. And potentially, enabling everyone to actually watch it really feels a bit strange. But as I've said already in the intro kind of thing, we are talking about procrastination and or another ideas.ted.com article. I've actually thought about going through another book summary, but I decided I do not want to go through one, therefore I'm just going to go through an article. And then I just looked it up a little bit. I think it was actually the fourth article that I've seen on this page. I hope it's great. I assume it is great because normally they are great. But have I actually done everything that I should be doing? Yeah, everything should be fine. Everything should be okay. But I've actually seen, what the fuck is going on here? What I've seen there is that, first of all, my CPU is just so fucking overdone, and I don't know why. Maybe I could just, let me try out something pretty quickly. So there you can actually see everything that is on here. Crop to window, this one. Okay. Thank you very much. Now everything is just really fucking up. Now let's do this and that. And let's see whether it's doing better or not. Because here you can actually see my fucking mouse, which is actually something that's pretty nice. And I've seen it because I've actually had to do some problem solving yesterday, just because nothing quite was working, because of this kind of new setup that I had to do for the reaction video. But you can actually see all the things that I have up there, which is pretty unnecessary. Let's do it like this. I think it's actually not that bad, especially because it is fluent and everything is not just really laggy and something like this. Another concern that I'm actually having is whether I think it's just perfect. I really think that I should just change everything to this one because I can totally show you things way better and something like this. But what I see that if I'm doing this, it fucks with the performance just pretty fucking hard. Yeah, never mind. Without kind of wasting enough time any longer, we are going ahead, or I'm actually trying or starting to read the article. So tired of procrastination? To overcome it, take the time to understand it. Which is again from Daryl Chen. Procrastination isn't shameful or a character flaw. Instead, it is rooted in a very human need. The need to feel competent and worthy, says educator Nic Voge, or Voge, or whatsoever. So this post is part of TED's How to Be a Better Human series, each which contains a piece of helpful advice from someone in the TED community. So browse through all of them here. There's a link. I've gone through some of them, quite a lot of them actually, up to this point. But yeah, so I think they start with a little story, I at least assume. So it's 11 o'clock. You are in your room or in your dorm room, whatever it actually is. I don't know. Can you see this kind of flip? No, you can't. No, you can't. And you have a paper, and you are in your dorm room, and you have a paper due in a day or so. You have a paper due in a day or so. You sit down at your desk, you open up your laptop to get started, and then you think, I'm gonna check my mail just for a minute and get it out of the way. So 45 minutes later, you've checked a lot of emails, says Nic Voge, Senior Associate Director of Princeton University's McGraw Center of Teaching and Learning in New Jersey, in a TEDx Princeton talk. You've done a really good job. Of that, but now you realize, you know what? I'm pretty tired. I'm kind of exhausted, and that's not conducive to writing a good paper. So what do I need? I need to go to sleep, and you do. Only to wake up and go through the whole cycle of delays and excuses the next fucking day. Which is something that I quite know, of course. I'm not a fucking superhuman. I'm not even trying to act like this, I guess. I at least hope that I'm not doing it. But the thing is, I think it just really happens to everyone out there, no matter what you're doing. Sometimes, at least, a lot of people do just have kind of figured out how to change it up for themselves to actually not have this procrastination problem. Some people do just have it pretty fucking intensely. They really have I would say, a problem with that. I assume, at least, because if there's one side or one edge, there always has to be another edge. I might be something in between. I really just have the discipline. I really have the grit. Grit is something that we've been talking about the last 3 episodes, if I remember correctly, with the great thumbnails that I've actually put a lot of work in. Check them out. They're really great. They're actually pretty fun. I've really liked them. So, because grit is just something quite similar to having discipline, actually. It is not quite comparable to motivation, because motivation is something you often do not have, or sometimes you do not have. But if you then just have the discipline and or the grit, you're still gonna do what you need to do. Whether you like it or whether you want to or not, you're still gonna fucking do it. But yeah, I think that having grit just really is something against the whole procrastination thing, because you have to fucking do it. Even though you're not motivated to do it, even though you don't want to do it, you're still gonna do it because of your grit, and maybe because of the feeling of actually not doing enough or not being worthy, as they said. Well, I don't know. The thing with me, I guess, is that I just, do things. I don't think a lot about things. I just do them, I guess. This is... Well, I do not want to act like, okay, I'm the best. Is this laggy? I think it is a little bit. It's a little bit laggy. I don't know why. It might be because I've changed some settings, unfortunately, or just without actually knowing it. But I assume that the quality is actually pretty nice at the time. And also the file size is just as big as it used to be. So I guess it is okay. Let's actually go ahead. So is this you? Rather than a college paper, maybe it was a report for work, graduate program application, peer review, or some other important thing that you kept kicking down the road until the road ran out and you had to deliver. I often kind of feel like that these are only things that you do not want to do, and these are just correlated to things that, these are all things that you do not want to do. And I guess, this might be another point why you should not work on something that, you don't like to do, or you're not passionate about doing it, or you absolutely hate, which is actually the case, unfortunately, for, I assume, quite a lot of people, especially when they're a little older and they have been in their career or in their position or whatever for quite some time. I guess it's getting a little bit boring, throughout the years, at least for some people. I do also think that it just also comes up to how you kind of, treat your work, I guess, and how you deal with it. And, because I often think okay, there might have been some chances for you to take, that might have led to you doing something else, without being in a position that that you are in time. You once had the kind of, or your boss once asked you, okay, if you want to do something different, but you said no, because yeah, I do have family, and or I'm just too bored, I'm too lazy to do it. It might have been, or might be just way too much work for me, and something like this, which, well, yeah, it is your fucking fault in the end then. Well, yeah, there's now no one to be blamed but you. But I still think it is just really bright. Yeah, now it's a little bit better. Well, yeah. So, yeah. So you probably scolded yourself for your behavior and wondered, why am I so lazy, weak-willed, disorganized, unmotivated, hopeless? Fill in other belittling adjective. Fill in other belittling, whatever belittling actually means. What does... Now you can actually also see the fucking screen that I'm always having, but it really fucks the performance. Oh my fucking god. Well, I don't know. I know the performance when I'm just staying still, when I'm just talking, it is just better. It really is. But there you can see, once I scroll, it just really, it really messes around with the CPU usage. But yeah, there you can see it. There I have a German translation, which is always or often quite shit. But there I also have an English translation, which is enormously great. So the opposition belittled the government's success, disparage, denigrate, or is it denigrate? I think it's denigrate. Rundown, despreciate, deprecate, downgrade, play down, and other things. Well, Vogue has good news for you. Procrastination isn't shameful. It is not a sign of weakness. It is not a flaw, he says. It is actually pretty predictable. It is something we can really expect if we understand the dynamics of motivation. At Princeton, Vogue develops the science and directs academic academic support programs for undergraduates. He has seen procrastination in its forms, and he confesses, mastered the craft and art of procrastination, the mind games, the rationalizations, the justifications. I do think there's just a lot of variables to it, and I do assume it could definitely be the case that he just figured it out, which would actually be nice, because I guess we would just then know it after we went through this article, which is not that long actually. It really is not. It's quite good. Is it an old one? Nah, it seems not to be the case actually. So an old, TED talk, about the person or something. So there are many theories about why we procrastinate. Some have said it is about the inability to cope with difficult emotions. Others that it's, I can't read today, that it is connected to faulty time management or perfectionism. Well, I do not believe in this, but I don't believe in those two actually. I really don't. I think it's just really kind of lack of motivation. Why we procrastinate, why we don't just do things that we should just do. And or it is just really about okay, we just see that it is not worth our time, but we still just kind of have to do it because we're just in such a society or such in a group or in an environment where we do just have to do them. Well, yeah. So, Vogue, however, believes it is rooted in our self-worth, he explains. The paramount psychological need that all of us have is to be seen by ourselves and others as capable and competent and able. And we will actually sacrifice or trade off other needs to meet that need. I guess, because I guess in general, we're just really social animals. There's actually a book called The Social Animal, which is, I think, all about human beings and I think their social behavior but I don't know. But we really are, and I think we've also I just always mix these up. Also and always. Never mind. I think we've always been just really social animals because, which is something that I've been talking about quite often, I guess. I think we would have just really died if we just... The problem that I'm having with the whole setup that I'm having right now, where it is just what it is, once I just click into the window, it just lags a little bit, which is a little bit bad in terms of actually switching the scenes, like, this and that and whatever. But yeah, what did I want to say? I fucked it up. Yeah, never mind. Never ever mind. Let's see. No. I do have some chewing gum in my mouth. It actually feels pretty good in terms of the talking. I kind of feel like I talk better with it. Maybe just opening my mouth a little bit wider. Open? Never mind. Yeah. Where did I stop? So to be clear, the need to be seen as worthy or worthwhile is not the problem. Where things go wrong is that some of us depend heavily on extreme feedback or external feedback, which is actually the case. So in the form of good grades, praise from bosses, parents, in-laws or other authority figures, or the acceptance of prestigious organizations. For those feelings of worthiness, Vogue says, people who procrastinate a lot have a kind of simplistic equation in their mind. Their performance is equal or equivalent to their ability, which is equal or equivalent to their self-worth as a person. Or as he puts it, performance is ability is self-worth. The reason we are so terrified about performing poorly on a paper, application, analysis, etc. is because we feel our ability rests on it and our value as a person. Which is really fucked up. To really begin with this, it is just completely fucked up, and I believe it is actually the case, because a lot of human beings, and I believe it just changed in nowadays generation pretty heavily. I really believe that nowadays people actually do kind of care way more about, in another sense actually, because I do just have to add something there. I kind of believe that those people that are living nowadays, especially the really young people that are just, nowadays generation, let's say it like this. I don't know what it is called, they are the millennials, the kind of famous millennials. Then I guess there is Generation X. I don't actually know what generation I am. I'm born 2001 actually. So I don't know. The thing is, I really believe that those people living nowadays, or this generation just, and they really care way more about what other people think of them than, I guess, other generations. Even though I do just have to add other generations, and I think every generation has always been caring about what other people think of them. No matter what. For sure, there are some people that are quite not caring about it, just because it is their framework, it is just how they work, which is good for them, which is amazingly good for them. But I guess some years ago, or just some generations ago, maybe even, it has been just in a different case or in a different way. I guess it was way more important what your parents think about you, what just real authorities think about you, as I'm just thinking about it. And nowadays it's like, okay, what the people online think about you, what the people that seeing you on the street think about you, and those things. Because, well, yeah, what people are wearing, if it comes up to this point, or of what people think about them, is just really fucked up, because they're just really throwing out a lot of fucking money out of the window. Just by, trying to be cool for other people, or be cool to other people, instead of just, wearing the shit that you're having and saving some time and or also money, but especially money, for then just, buying something that really matters. Like, I don't know, starting your business because you just like to do it, and other things. I guess I'm just, it is what it is. I think it just changed a bit. I think we've always been caring about what other people think of us, but now it just changed up a little bit. But if you do just have a certain thing about this, it would also be nice if you comment down below in the comment section, or if you just hit me up on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and you can always just search for me on every single fucking social network you're on. The possibility is relatively high that I'm on there as well. So in a performance, is ability is self-worth equation, the only variable we can control is how much effort we put into our performance. When we procrastinate and put in less effort, we're doing it as a form of self-protection, according to Vogue. That way, if we learn a bad result, it doesn't mean we are not talented, able, or worthy. We were just too busy or distracted to do our best. Which is actually a really great way to do it, because it is actually the case like, okay, I've done it, yeah, but but I haven't put in just as much effort as I could, so therefore, it's just really below my level. I could just do it better. This kind of talking that a lot of people are just doing. It's just really something common, I guess. Saying like, it was just an hour of work of mine, and I didn't put as much effort into it, and it was like, okay, I just didn't do it that seriously, and something like this. I think either it is really the case, or just people talk about it in such a way, just because they do not want to be, because they just care about what other people think of them, because nobody would even give a fuck about actually telling somebody, okay, I just put in 1 hour, even though it is actually not the truth, so actually lying about it. So just this singular person thinks of you in a different way than just, it might have been. And I do just want to emphasize might have been, because, then people think like, okay, it is shitty. The product that you have made was shit. Okay, there's just a lot of variables that really play into something just getting or becoming or just going out good, I guess, and or bad. If I'm designing something, it could either be just pretty shitty or it could be just, pretty good, or something in between, of course. I always put effort into those things that I'm actually doing. And I've also just felt the way like, okay, I put just a lot of fucking time into something, and in the end it was just really quite shit. It just, it doesn't feel good. It really does not. But the thing is, the next time you can do it somehow differently, of course. But yeah, the close-up. So think about the murmurs you inevitably heard before exams in high school or college. Is it Vogue? I think it's Vogue, like, the news. It's not a newspaper, but the magazine. So Vogue asks, what are people saying? I only studied 3 hours. I only studied 2 hours. My computer froze. Everyone's explaining how they are not ready. Why? Because if they don't achieve, then they have this built-in excuse not only for themselves, but for others. Which is, I think, very important to have an excuse for other people, so they don't think that you're just a dumbass motherfucker, even though you don't, or even though you are actually, which is not a problem. Even though you are not the best in the space, nobody is meant to be the best in every single space. No fucking body is meant to be this way. I think there is a song meant to be this way. Never mind, I don't remember it, unfortunately. But the thing is, really nobody is meant to be good at everything. Some people are just good athletes, some are just meant to be good soccer players, good football players, good cricket players, good tennis players. They are just meant to be this way. They're just meant to be some athlete. They're just meant to be just good at this particular certain sport. Some people are meant to be an entrepreneur. Some people are just meant to be just becoming millionaires, even though, of course, some luck and some other things play into this equation as well. But some people are just meant to be a certain way. And sometimes, okay, you are in class, you're learning something, you're studying something in the macro that is just completely fitting you. But in the macro, there are often just some micro things you don't, like to do, that are not just coming natural to you and all those things. Well, then it is just the case. It's just the case that you weren't meant to be just good at, I don't know, say something, Java, even though programming itself, you're good in it. Yeah. So anyone who has ever procrastinated has experienced that feeling of stuckness. Many people describe procrastination as being stuck at or against the wall or an obstacle they can't get over. Says Vogue, we are often agitated, we can't sleep, but we also can't work. At those times we find ourselves pulled between two equally strong and compelling forces, the drive to achieve and the fear of failure. We come unstuck only when the fear of not getting things done overrides our fear of failure. So how do we break the cycle? Vogue highlights 3 strategies, and I'm really looking forward to them. It is quite something to go. I think I just go and read it. So the first one is be aware of what you're doing and why you're doing it. So we know from the research on procrastination and overcoming it that gaining knowledge and being aware of self-worth theory is in these dynamics helps people over these things, says Vogue. To understand the roots of procrastination helps us weaken it. Our procrastination is probably not coming from a place of self-loathing or self-sabotage, but from a need to protect ourselves. Know when you're procrastinating, sometimes it's obvious. There's absolutely no reason for us to do the laundry before we write that grand application. At other times it is more subtle, so you may need to check in with yourself. Yes, removing old files from my computer desktop will give me a less distracting workspace, but is it essentially that I do it right now? Or am I just postponing writing the application? A pro tip is if you have to ask yourself whether you're procrastinating or not, chances are you fucking are. Actually the case. So get familiar with your greatest hits of wasting time. Most of us have specific fallback activities that we do when we are playing the delaying game. What's your house cleaning, napping, shopping, reading email, catching up on Netflix? Learn to recognize it so you can nip it in the butt. It is much easier to prevent falling down the cleaning, napping, shopping rabbit hole rather than pulling yourself out. Vogue says, the greater awareness we have of our tendencies and our motivations, we are more likely to overcome them. And I, in general, think that self-awareness and just knowing yourself, knowing what's good for yourself, knowing what works for yourself, knowing what not works for yourself, or doesn't work for yourself, is very, 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 very enormously fucking important. Because when you know, okay, this is my rabbit hole, and you're just preventing yourself from getting into it, of course, your life's gonna be a little bit easier. Just because you know it, just because you can prevent yourself from doing it because you fucking know it, because you have understood yourself, because you have the proper self-awareness of, understanding yourself, which is actually awareness. So just explain awareness with awareness. Thanks, Chris. That was amazing. Tip 2 is balance. Or the second one is actually tip the balance. So our progress towards completing any activity is affected by approach, motives, reasons why we want to do things, and avoid motives, reasons why we don't want to do things. With activities that we have no hesitations doing, let's say eating something that's delicious and healthy, it's because we have many approach motives and very few avoid motives. Many procrastinators have the mistaken belief that the reason they are putting off a task is because there is an underlying reason they don't want to do it. Often that is not the case. It is simply that their fears dominate or overwhelm their approach motives, says Vogue. When you're playing solitary instead of performing competitive market analysis for your boss, it could be because your avoid motives, in particular, you're avoiding the project because you're terrified you'll fail, outweigh your approach motives. So when this happens, think of all the reasons why you want to do this activity. It might help to remind yourself on how completing it fits into your larger goals, objectives, or missions. Then, if it seems especially big or intimidating, break it down into manageable pieces. When Vogue found himself procrastinating writing his TEDx talk because it seemed so daunting, he decided to create an outline so he could write his script section by section. Warning: just resist turning that outline or to-do list into an invitation to procrastinate further. Actually the case. The third one is challenge your beliefs. We need to undermine the ideas that brought us to procrastinating in the first place, says Vogue. The equation that we carry around in our head is flawed. Our ability is not equivalent to our worth, he adds. Our worth derives from our human fucking qualities of kindness and toughfulness and other vulnerabilities. That was a pretty hard one, because I've actually tried to be pretty fast Didn't feel that good, to be honest. Really felt not that good. But yeah, nevertheless, this is going to be the end of the episode. Quite enjoyed it. I think one of the worst episodes that I did in the past 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 2 weeks actually. I guess, yeah, it could actually be the case. But yeah, I wish you the best health, wealth, happiness, and success, and also hope that you're going to remind yourself on how you're going to be remembered. So basically, your legacy. Because you can totally control it, you can totally have it in your hands. Even though, we can't serve everyone and we can't make everyone like us. It is just what it is. But with that being said, I wish you the best and I see you. Thank you very much for listening and watching.